Any questions about anything we've discussed so far? I was able to find the still face video, and I'm going to play that for you now. I had the wrong connection. What'd you think? Just that short amount of time, which is amazing to me, of how, I don't know why this does this, how the child started to react negatively. Wasn't that amazing? Think of how many people you know who may not have had that opportunity to get back to the good. That's what I try to consider when I look at people. How many of you didn't get back to the good? Okay? All right, we're going to whip through this. We only have a little less than an hour, and we've got some ground to cover. Trust your instincts, the power of perception. 90% of other nonverbals, 10%. What that means is the entire body can't lie. Even the best actors in the world said they can't completely force their bodies to lie, okay? So the whole body can't lie, but 90 to 99% of it can. Therefore, whenever you detect a contradiction in the other nonverbals, be prepared to believe the minor element at times. Real quick, we'll go through this. There are some red flags that you should look for when dealing with people. Shiny forehead in cool temperatures, glancing, darting eyes, inappropriate verbal responses, hand movements, shaking legs, tapping feet, dragon step. You know what the dragon step is? The dragon step is this. Because I'm loading up on my strong foot. That's a sign that somebody may be ready to become physical. We also have those things. Have you ever dealt with somebody with that million-mile stare? It's almost like they're looking straight through you. Don't see you as an individual. So these are just some of the red flags. Okay. The RAM, we call that the reasonable arc of movement, is a specific location you ask your contact to go and the movements you either want them or don't want them to do. The RAM is not set until you set it, okay? You've heard me use the RAM previously. Be aware of where you are in relation to your contact. The RAM is, excuse me, sir, for your safety and mine, could I please have you remain seated? Who did I put first? Him. Yeah, for your safety and mine. Now, the RAM works, especially when I'm speaking to a group of people, because I've had the unfortunate situation where I've talked to 3 people at the same time and they were all 3 shooting questions at me rapid fire. Rather than do that, if I could get you 2 to remain here, and I'll answer any questions you have, but I'd like to speak to your friend here for a moment. Can I please get you 2 to remain seated while we have this discussion? I'm setting the RAM. Now, if he was to get up and move toward, excuse me, sir, I'm sorry. I thought we had an agreement that you would remain seated. Is there a justified reason why you're not? Setting the RAM just simply means where you want the dance to take place, okay? It's where I want I would go into campsites and people would be burning firewood, so what's an obvious weapon that I need to look for? An axe, because they're chopping firewood. And if I see a leash with no dog, what am I missing? And if I see 4 chairs but only 2 people, what am I missing? We do a scene assessment of the situation. And so there were times when I'd say, excuse me, could I speak to you out here for a moment, please? Notice, for a moment, please. So the RAM is set only when you set it. And we talk about this situation. Do you guys ever work in pairs? Yeah. Sometimes when we work in pairs, can you come up real quick? Can I have you two come up real quick? You two, Patrick. Now, Patrick, you'll be my partner. And, well, first off, stand here. Let's walk up here. You're the customer. How does this feel? Yeah, don't like it, huh? How close is close enough? Now, you know, 6 feet is what we've been going with during the pandemic, but this is still awkward. Notice where my partner is. We call it the tactical L. I'm going to move you here, and I'm going to have you turn and look here. As human beings, when we get into conversations, we get tunnel vision. We don't see much outside of that, right? What can my partner see? Everything. He can see everything that I can't see. And he can even tap me on the shoulder. And if he sees that things are going bad for me and I've just lost it, come over, tap me on the shoulder, and you take my place and I take your place. Okay? Because this gives us an opportunity for me to be, and I can look behind myself occasionally. I can see behind my partner, even if he gets tunnel vision. So it's an opportunity. Thanks, guys. And we also have what we call cut and herd. A cut and herd is, as partners, I might take this group of individuals and really talk about nothing while my partner has that conversation that he needs to have. My conversation would be, warm weather we've been having lately, isn't it? You folks from around this area? I tell you, I'm not. And so I'm just learning I'm going to talk about nothing because the real conversation occurs here. And once he finishes, thank you for your time. Enjoy the rest of your day. So it's called a cut and herd. You see how my partner can see everything that I can't see? We talk about RAT, the reasonable, and not the little ones, the reasonable arc of talk, setting verbal boundaries of communication, drawing a line in the sand, professionally directing the conversation. Do we have freedom of speech in this country? Mostly. We do. We have freedom of speech. If you don't believe me, go to some other countries, okay? We have freedom of speech, so people have the right to say what they want to say, except for one occasion. Anybody know what that is? It's called, if you look it up, it's called the fighting words doctrine. We cannot utter those words which incite violence. We can't utter those words. That's why you can't scream fire in a crowded theater, because that would incite some violence of trampling. So people have the right of freedom of speech in this country, but that doesn't mean we can't ask them. Sir, so that I can better understand you, can I please have you stop yelling and using profanities? Now, who in here doesn't want to be better understood? Notice the way I termed it. Look, you're going to need to stop cursing. I'm not talking to you. What's that probably going to? Instead, you know, so that I can better understand you, can I please have you lower your voice, please? An opportunity, reasonable arc of talk. Here's the meat here, folks. You've heard me use, let's see, we've got, yeah. Here's the meat. We call this the 8-step. We give a greeting. We ID ourselves and who we are, and a partner if we have one. We tell our individuals why we're having this discussion. And then we ask them this very important question. Is there a justified reason? And I'll get to those, but I'm going to go down one by one. Appropriate greeting. You know one of the most overused greetings that we have? How you doing? I really don't care, and I really don't care if you answer. Do we? Because if we really told people how we were doing, they'd run from us. You know, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, an appropriate greeting. The second step is I ID myself and who I work for. My name's Kevin Price. I'm a park manager with the Oregon Parks and Rec Department. I'm an employee with the transit system. And ignore the body-worn camera disclaimer, that's for the police side. And who we work for. And the reason that being, look, working for state parks, our uniforms look just like the U.S. Forest Service, that looks just like BLM. Nobody understood who we were, but I wanted people to know who I was because I wanted to get the good credit for the work that we do. I didn't want them. Do people ever confuse you with working for someone that you don't work for? Probably so, okay? And number 3, reason for contact. The reason that I stopped by was I noticed you didn't have a mask on. Now, what's the number 1 asked question in America? Why? What do you think number 2 is? Who the hell are you and what gives you the right and the authority to tell me what to do? Who are you and what gives you the right and the authority to tell me what to do? I want you to look at the first 3 steps of the 8-step. You've already answered those 2 most asked questions. You've told them why you're there, okay, reason for contact, and you've told them who you are and what gives you the authority that you have. And then step 4 is there a justified reason? Now, you may need to modify this, and it's okay to ask if they just simply have a reason. I stuck with, is there a justified reason? Because I didn't want to listen to every reason under the sun. I only wanted to listen to justified reasons. And it goes like this. Notice, everything matches. Afternoon. My name's Kevin Price. I'm a park manager with the Oregon Parks and Rec Department. The reason that I stopped by today was I noticed your dog off leash in an area where dogs need to be on a leash. Is there a justified reason for that, sir? No. If not, could I please get you to, which is step 5, cooperation. I'm going to take that idea out of there. I apologize. Request cooperation. 97 to, it's interesting, typically 97 to 98% of the people who we deal with comply with our requests. It's just that 2-3% that we remember. And I used to ask my staff, why do you get focused on those people when, look at how many people are very happy with the service that we provided. Folks, when I reach number 4, is there a justified reason the world stops for me? And why? Because I'm going to get bait. I'm going to get information to help people. All I have to do is listen for it. Afternoon. My name's Kevin Price. I work with the transit system here. The reason that I stopped by was I noticed that you had some extra bags that you were trying to load onto the bus. Is there a justified reason, or is there a reason that you're doing so? You're going to get information. This is an opportunity for us to get information from people. We call it the 8-step because this, and by the way, when I first learned this, I went out and I thought I had known it all. And I went, "Good afternoon, sir." And he went, "Good afternoon, young man. What a lovely day." And I went, "Oh no, don't interrupt. I'm trying to get through this." Too mechanical, okay? Folks, let it flow. Afternoon. And the world stops for me when I get to, is there a justified reason? Because you're going to give me information. And step 6 is, sometimes I would have to request additional information. If I was going to write a citation, if I was just going to document it, I could write a written warning. And number 7, I had a decision to make. What was I going to do? Was it just going to be a written warning, a verbal warning, or information? And then we have number 8, the appropriate close. Now, why do you think we put appropriate close there? How many of you have ever gotten a ticket from a police officer before? And when they finished writing you that ticket, they handed it to you, they said what? "Yeah, you son of a..." They don't mean have a nice day. Who's going to have a nice day when they just took hundreds of dollars out of your pocket? We call that an inappropriate close. Have a safe rest of the day. Doesn't that sound better? But yeah, They like to jab it to you. Have a nice day. Yeah, up yours, you. And so we utilize the 8-step. Now, there's an opportunity. I'm going to show you. If you get resistance, at number 5, then we ask you to go into what we call the 8-step. The 8-step is, the 5-step is, step 1 is the same as step 5 of the 8-step. I hope I'm not confusing you. It's ask. And those are the first universal truth, 1 and 2. Everybody wants to be treated with dignity and respect. And number 2, all people would much rather be asked than told to do something. The next step is to set context, explain why, okay? Which is universal truth. Number 3, everybody deserves to know why they are being asked to do something. Step 4 is the confirmation statement, and it's universal steps 3 and 5. And anybody know what step 3 is? I just gave it to you. Everybody deserves to know why they are being asked to do something. And step 5 is all people want a second chance. And I'm going to show you this in a circular motion. You remember that album I talked to you about that got scratched? This is the process that we use. Okay? Ask, set context, explain why. Options. And I want you to put next to options a +/- We always start with good options. Why would you ever start with bad options? Because that's what we grew up in society learning. So we always start with good options. And the confirmation statement is something as simple as, sir, is there anything that I can say at this time to get you to comply with my request and put on a mask? I'd really like to think so. And if the answer's no or something that sounds like no, I go to act. Now, I have a question for you. How long do you allow people to vent? How long do you allow people to vent? It depends. What's the longest you've allowed someone to vent?
30 minutes.
Oh my God. That almost.
1 hour appointment.
Yeah, but don't you remember maximum efficiency? How long do you allow people to vent, Jason?
Yeah, I guess it all depends.
Yeah. You know what? That's the answer that I usually get. Verbal judo teaches us we have 7 to 12 seconds to take control of a conversation. Quite often when we allow people to vent that long, they're venting about more than what they were originally there to talk to us about. Aren't they? Yeah, my job is not to solve the problems of the world. My job was to deal with a specific issue. And so we teach you, you have 7 to 12 seconds to take control of that conversation. This is a process that we use. We use the 8-step. Can I have you come up, Patrick? Would you guys like to, I'm going to show you how this works together. I'm going to say to you, this process that I use, I will know in 2 to 2.5 minutes where this is going. I don't have to spend 30 minutes on the phone. I don't have to spend, hey, some people have allowed people to vent for an hour. And I don't have that kind of time. So what would you guys like me to enforce? Anything you want me to enforce, I'll enforce and show you. To put a mask on?
On her, though. She never wore one. Let's see you do it.
Well, I'm going to use him as the example, okay? But I'm going to show you how this would work, okay? Now, okay? You tell me if I follow the steps. Good afternoon, sir. My name's Kevin Price. I'm with the Transit District here. The reason that I stopped by is there's a requirement that all customers wear a mask at this time. Is there a justified reason why you're not wearing a mask?
No.
If not, could I please get you to put a mask on now?
No.
So I got resistance, right? So I've already asked. Let me explain to you why we require that you wear a mask. It's for your safety and the safety of our other users. Is that something I can get you to do? What's the next step? Options. You know, I've got some good options for you. If I can get you to put a mask on as soon as we finish the trip and we reach our destination, you're able to take that mask off. Is that something that I can get you to do, please? Now, I was hoping he'd be a little bit more imaginative and say something that sounded like no, but we're going to go with no. So, good, bad, good. You know, that might only leave us bad options. That's not something that I want us to even have to, a road I want us to go down. That could mean you not being able to utilize the services here. That could mean a suspension of some time. That's not something. It's not good for you, not good for me. Could I please get you to? You know, I think I've got another good option for you. If you're not willing to put a mask on, there'll be another bus along in a while. They may require an option as well, a mask as well, but I don't know. Is that something I can get you to do, please? Sir, is there anything that I can say to you at this time to get you to comply with my request and put a mask on? I'd really like to think so. Thank you for your time. I'm sorry we couldn't come to an agreement. Others may be in touch. Now, was I ever offensive to you?
No.
It was very soft. Who made every decision? Now, I want you to think about, thanks a lot, Patrick. I want you to think about you having to write up a report. Here's your report. I approached Patrick on what's the day? The 8th of September at 3:25, and I introduced myself. I gave him a greeting. I introduced myself. I told him why I was there to discuss him wearing a mask. I asked if he had a justified reason why he didn't have a mask on in the facility. He stated no. I then asked if he would please put a mask on. He continued to say no. So I moved to the 5-step. I explained why, for his safety and the safety of other users, that he needed to put a mask on. He continued to say no. So I provided what I thought were good options. I explained that if he could put the mask on while we were doing the transport, he could certainly take it off once we reached our destination. He said no again. I then provided what I thought were bad options, but I explained to him I really didn't want us to go down this route, that he might not be able to use the services that we provided. He continued to say no. I then provided him what I thought was another good option, another alternative mode of transportation. He continued to say no. I utilized the confirmation statement, and he continued to say no. Folks, you've got your report written out for you. You know, it's interesting. When I usually go through that, tell them the one piece of instruction that I gave you.
Just say no.
Just keep saying no. I have done this with classes, and I get to options, good options, and people will go, well, okay. No, you're supposed to say no, okay? It's so powerful, but it wasn't threatening to you. I allowed you to make all the decisions. You're going to lead me to where you're going to go. And folks, how long did that take? Even with me interjecting? A couple minutes? I know exactly where I was going. So to get caught up in that loop where you just keep going around and around and around, nope. Polite, professional, and courteous. If you got a problem, ain't my problem. It's your problem. We talk about empathize. Don't confuse with sympathy. Tactical empathy, to see the situations through the eyes of the other for the purpose of obtaining and maintaining a tactical advantage of the situations. Citizens have a point of view, right or wrong, just or unjust. You do not have to agree with what they say. You simply have to understand their perspective. I always like the term, people who lack empathy lack imagination because they can't see themselves in someone else's shoes. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I missed that. I'm sorry. Oh, we had done this one before. Yeah. This is LEAPS. Of LEAPS, that's an acronym. Listen, empathize, ask, paraphrase, and summary. And we'll go through each one of those very quickly. We've got about 30 minutes. We're getting back on schedule here. We talked about listen, the 4 steps of active listening earlier. I don't know if you remember. Open and unbiased, hear literally, interpret accurately. Remember, sometimes meaning and words are seldom the same, especially when people are upset or angry, and act appropriately, okay? I'm sorry, did you guys get that one? Okay. Empathize, we talked about that. People who lack empathy lack imagination. Sometimes it's important for us to put ourselves in someone else's shoes as to the way that they see the world. And I'm sorry, what's your name again? Shana. If Shana and I worked in an office building and we left at midnight at night, Shana would do several things before she left. She would get her keys in her hand, right? You would call your significant other to let them know you're on the way home. You would scan the outside to make sure it was safe to go. Guys, what do? Doop-de-doop-de-doop. We just walk out without a thought. That's an invisible right that we didn't even realize that we have, okay? Putting yourself in someone else's shoes is important at times. So empathy. Here, let's do this. We've got another video. Cleveland. We never know what baggage people are bringing to the table, folks. And one of the things that we did with Oregon Parks and Rec Department was we tried to learn the stories. You know, I had worked with people, I'd been with state parks for 35 years, and I didn't really know their story. And I had a fellow manager who phoned me and said, I want to tell you my story. And I walked up to her office and she said, you know, I have a special needs son. And he's grown now, he's 18 now. But she said when he was little, we would take him places. We never knew what we were gonna get. And she said, all I would ever hear from people was, that boy needs a whooping. You need to be a better parent. You need to discipline him. And she looked at me and said, it would have just been nice if somebody would have walked up and said, is there anything I can do to help? So sometimes, folks, we don't know the baggage that people carry or the weight that they carry. And so, you know, learning their stories is important. I'm sorry. Now I'm stuck. Uh-oh. There we go. We saw that. So there are 5 types of questions that sometimes you have to engage in for further questioning to get information. And I'll go over these very quickly. The first one is ask. That's the A of LEAPS. The first one is fact-finding questions. Who, what, when, where, and how. Now, each type of these questions has a good side and a bad side, okay? I want you to put below that a plus. Fact-finding questions get you the information. Now, I want you to put a negative under it. People can feel machine gunned or interrogated. Patrick, what'd you have for lunch?
Potatoes and meat.
Who'd you eat with?
Can't remember.
What'd you talk about?
Work.
You see how that machine gun of facts questions can start to feel like an interrogation? Yeah, so we're going to talk about how to mix those up. The next one are general questions. What happened, or how can I be of service? Okay? What happened, or how I can be of service? The positive below general questions is it gets people talking. It gets people talking when you ask a general question. What happened? They'll tell you what happened. The negative of that is you might get too much information. You might get simply too much information. Okay? Number 3 is direct questions. Did you or didn't you? Or did they? The positive of direct questions, you get quick responses. People are quick to respond. The negative of it is rapport damaging, can shut people down. The fourth are leading questions. Isn't it true that, now, the positive of leading questions, it steers the conversation where you want it to go. The negative is people don't like to be steered in conversations, and so they will tend to shut down if you ask too many of those. And last, opinion-seeking questions. In your opinion, what do you think should happen? The positive, everybody's got an opinion, don't they? Everybody has an opinion. The negative, you'll hear it all. You'll hear all of their opinions. And so, let's see if I get this to work. Strategies for questioning, forecast, set context for people. Explain to your audience that you're going to be asking some questions to get information. Is that okay? Get that buy-in. Number 2, vary your questions. Remember that machine gun approach of fact-finding questions? Maybe mix in some different questions, some leading questions, or other questions. Each question has its strength and weakness. It's important to know. We got 10 minutes? All righty. I better get going. Paraphrase. Paraphrase is simply to take the meaning of another's, their words, and wrap them into your meaning and feed it back to them. That's what paraphrase is. Paraphrase is a necessary backup system, in communication. Paraphrasing means to put the other person's perceived meaning in your words and give it back to them to modify and clarify. And if I get it wrong, what's somebody going to do? They're going to correct me. Yeah. Let me be sure I understand what you just said. You're feeling angry and upset because of how I spoke to you earlier. Is that what I heard you say? Okay? The subject's meaning stressed in the words so that you can both understand it. The art of paraphrasing, you can interrupt someone and not generate resistance. It makes the other person a better listener because nobody wants to listen harder than to their own words, to their own meaning, to their own point of view. It creates empathy. The other person will believe you are trying to understand. It often makes the other modify their initial statement, become more reasonable so that they can hear the meaning in different words and tones. And I apologize, I know we're rushing through this. Summarize, the ability to take a lot of information and condense the main points. Creates decisiveness and authority. Reconnects communication when temporarily interrupted. So leaps: listen, empathize, ask, paraphrase, and summary are the four. And we have some verbal judo maxims. It's not enough to be good. You must look good, sound good, or know good, Dr. Thompson used to remind us. Never step on someone's personal face, especially in front of their significant other, in front of their children. You want to fight? Do that. The goal is to be respected. People are like steel. When they lose their temper, they're ineffective. And you should have this in your book, and there's that. I've got one more video for you, and then we'll look at your list to make sure that we covered everything. You remember that first motorcycle cop who was kind of the jerk? Well, here's another one. So, let's look at our list. Working with customers, not taking things personally. Hopefully we've explained some of that you're not taking it personally. Deflection and redirection, okay? De-escalation, don't let it get under your skin, cope with difficult people. I'm having trouble reading Jason's writing. Dealing with frustrated clients. So we've pretty much covered all of these. I'm going to say again, folks, your practice doesn't stop today. It takes effort and practice to become, I didn't learn this overnight, and you heard me make some of the mistakes that I've made. And so I want to open it up for questions, but I do have to share with you, I do have one very deep disappointment. Not all of you came and got your Junior Ranger Beaver tattoos for the little ones out there. And I know there are some little ones. And I actually brought for the grandkids. Here, catch this. A deck of Oregon Heritage playing cards. I think it has an Oregon Heritage site on each one. So I have a couple of more decks if you guys would like those. Would you like one? And, I knew I needed to give you one. I got your tattoo too, since I picked on you. Do you folks have any questions or comments? We did an 8-hour course in about 6 hours, so there was some things that I skimmed over. I do have a couple of more decks left and tattoos. Well, I have 2, so I'm going to let how we get these out. I do have tattoos for folks as well. And who wanted one back here? Here. I've seen better hands on the clock. Folks, use your God-given strengths. One of the things that I use is humor. Who did I make fun of the most today? How many of you got mad at me making fun of myself? It softens the contact. So be safe, and practice makes perfect. And I'll be around to answer any questions. If you get an opportunity, I think they're doing the evaluation forms. Write in comments, because we want to make the course more meaningful, and we do utilize these to improve the course because we've gotten feedback in the past. Jason, do you have anything?
Do I have anything?
Anything you want to add?
No, I hope everybody enjoyed it. I think we should give Kevin a big round of applause. He was awesome. Good job.
Yeah, where were you guys at when I had email, though, and was typing in capitals? Folks, it's an opportunity, and again, it takes work. The first time you get pushed, you're going to revert back to what's most comfortable. That's okay, okay? But stick with it. And once you do, you'll start to see the benefits of this process. And imagine us all utilizing the same process to generate voluntary compliance, how powerful that is, and how consistent that is to our customers. So thank you guys very much.